Well, let's see. Good morning, everybody. Um, Looks like I've got a handful of folks here, and welcome to Sunrise Surprise. I did say PJs were fine, and I hope you are not horrified that you see me here this morning in my pajamas. Um, so, it's the first time I'm trying this little activity, and I hope you find it helpful. I've been really obsessed about this really awesome book called Good Morning, I Love You. It's by PhD Shauna Shapiro, and it looks at mindfulness, self-compassion practices to help rewire your brain for calm, clarity, and joy. And as I started reading the book, it was one of those reads where I immediately felt like, holy moly, the whole world needs to be reading this book. And truth be told, my husband turned me on to it. He he's really into the mindfulness thing, and has just been really a great guide for me in identifying great resources and stuff to share with my colleagues. So let's see. I'm going to see if I can identify. Betsy, Meredith. Good morning, you guys. Thank you for joining me. And as I said on the announcement, this is not going to be a long good morning with everybody. I did make a cup of tea. I don't know how you guys. Jacqueline, virtual hug to you all, which is all we can ever do for for the time being, right? Excuse me. I hope that wasn't too slurpy. And so, what I thought I would do this morning is just share a little excerpt from this book, particularly in the wake of what a lot of you guys are dealing with on the front line. Lots of people are sharing different challenges that they're encountering with this current crisis as hospitals really try to ramp up resources and really be prepared for the worst case scenario. I know that has some significant ramifications and implications for you guys, right, as frontline clinicians. And so I thought that this little brief 10-minute encounter in the morning might help you set your day off with a good intention, right? With a good mindset. And this, what I opened the book up to this morning, I thought was pretty cool and profound. It's part two, an introduction to part two of the book, which I haven't gotten to yet. And it says, when the going gets tough, the tough get compassionate. And just like a lot of the work I do when I talk about trauma-informed care for the clinician, this particular section is really talking about self-compassion and how important it is for us to be kind and loving to ourselves, particularly when we're in the throes of crisis, when we're in the throes of really high stress activity. And of course, that's our baseline, right? As NICU clinicians, we're used to being in a high stress situation. But I think what we're dealing with right now is even more challenging, right? I mean, we have a bandwidth of the stress that we are able to manage in our day-to-day routine, and we can flex that a bit. But I think I'm hearing from some folks that NICU clinicians are now being asked to float to other units in the hospital to free up clinicians who can then transition into the adult ICU to manage this increased flow of patients and a lot of the challenges that we're encountering as people succumb to the virus. And so when I opened this up and those were the words that were facing me, I thought, this sounds pretty apropos, that when the going gets tough, the tough get compassionate. And in this chapter, she introduces the work of Kristin Neff, who's really the leading researcher on this concept of self-compassion and self-love, and how everything that kind of fuels us. Oh gosh, I'm sorry that you can't connect to the broadcast. Hopefully the replay will work for you, Meredith. I'm not really sure what the challenge may be, but I'll sort it out before tomorrow, I promise. Kristin Neff, really an amazing researcher on this concept, and I can send you some extra resources by Kristin that I think might help you really connect with some self-compassion practices that hopefully can help you, not just during this crisis now, but over the long term. And what I wanted to read with you was this really lovely poem by Galway Kinnell. And he talks about the importance of relearning our own loveliness as human beings. And that's really where our self-compassion starts, is recognizing that we are lovable, we are lovely, and really letting that reality fuel our compassion for other and our compassion for self. And how the poem goes is, everything flowers from within of self-blessing. Though sometimes it's necessary to reteach a thing its loveliness, to put a hand on its brow and retell it in words and in touch, it is lovely until it flowers again from within of self-blessing. Just let those words sink in, that you are lovely and that you need to honor that loveliness and embrace that loveliness, and let that acknowledgement fuel the love that you bring into the work that you do every day with your patients, with their families, with your colleagues, with everybody. And how she goes on to then recognize that there are some golden nuggets that we can take out of this reading. And really, some of this arises from the work of Brené Brown, that shame shuts down the learning centers of your brain. So really trying to work through the shame, because shame is a barrier to your self-love. And self-esteem is not the same thing as self-compassion. Self-esteem is a fair weather friend, but self-compassion is a powerful ally. So I want to leave you on those notes, and hopefully get to see you tomorrow. I'm not sure what the deal is with the broadcast. I will investigate. But in the meantime, you guys, be safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful, lovely day. Bye-bye.